Evening and welcome once again to Better Than Before live online. I'm Dave Edelstein. I talk about relationships and communication and connection and mindfulness every evening around this time. I'm a little early this evening. I have to go out and do some relationship coaching in a little while. After that, planning some programs for high school, anti-violence programs for high school centered around mindful communication. So I have a big evening ahead of me, and I wanted to get this done before I went running out. And what I wanted to get done this evening was address something that I feel like I'm bumping into a lot lately. And it's this generalization that arguments arise because men come from a rational place and women come from an emotional place. And I want to deny that. I want to say that that is not universally true and isn't necessarily the most helpful way to look at arguments and relationships or communication breakdown in relationships. In any disagreement in a relationship of any kind, people are prioritizing different things. If you get into a real heavy argument where two people are fighting to win, where there doesn't seem to be any point of agreement, it's often true that both people are really talking about different things, or they're talking about components of the problem that are completely different. Those components of the problem can, just to make a short list as I sit here, one person can be looking more at financial considerations. One person can be looking more at emotional considerations. One person can be looking for efficiency. One person can be looking for connection. One person can be looking at physical problems or logistical problems or practical problems, while the other person is looking at consequences or collateral damage or something else. And very often, both people can be completely rational, but just focused on very different things and having very different priorities. And so they get drawn into arguing, and the problem is that they're not even really talking about the same thing. And so as we revert to the relationship example, it's not necessarily true that men are talking about rational things and women are talking about emotional things. It doesn't always work that way. They may both be talking about rational things, but of different kinds, or emotional things about different kinds. Very often when stakes seem very high and we have to win, the tools we use may seem to be rational, but underneath those rational tools or the language of, well, look, this is just reasonable. What we're really defending is something that we're afraid of. We're talking about money, but we're afraid of being left without enough. We're talking about a process, but we're afraid of what will happen if we don't follow the rules. We can use language very often to cover what's really going on underneath. And this is another part of where things go wrong. So if you find yourself in this kind of disagreement, don't rush to frame the disagreement in terms of, well, I'm using rational terms and she's using emotional terms, or I'm using practical terms and she's using visionary terms. That's not going to bring you closer to a solution. What you need to do, as I often say, is listen. Okay, let's say the other person is talking in very different terms from you. You've got to find out what their priority is. What's important to them in this argument? Why do they feel a need to win? What will they win if you accept their solution? If we do things your way, what will you get? What peace of mind will that offer you? And it may turn out that both of you are seeking the same elements of peace of mind. You may both be seeking security. You may both be seeking trust. But you're using different language, and the things that you think will give you that security and trust may be different. That you can talk about. Will this really make you feel secure? Will this really make you feel more secure if we do it this way? Yes, it will. Okay, I can live with that. Or maybe you can't. Maybe you really will feel very insecure if the other person gets security of that form. So you don't necessarily have to keep fighting, but you may have to explain why that solution leaves you uncomfortable. But you'll get there by listening to what they really want, not by arguing over who has the intellectual high ground. So, good evening, and I'll be back again tomorrow, and I hope that you have a nice, clear communication evening and tomorrow. Good night.